So hi everybody, thank you so much for staying to hear my story. This is actually my first live appearance. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So I love the fact that they put me after Bronson because not only was he my coach starting in 22, but he then became my mentor when I decided to get into coaching. Wow. So a lot of stuff that he said, you're gonna hear it from me too. So I titled this "Weight Loss Surgery Did Not Fix Me" because it absolutely did not. It actually almost killed me. And we'll get into that. So I was always bigger as a child. I was on my first diet when I was 9 years old. And when you're in a home where you've got very slender women and then a overweight child, me, that kind of sticks with you. And that, as Jessica said, because again, she hit every, like she didn't, nail the head, like you whacked us with true sticks this morning. But that has such an impact, and you have no idea what an impact it has as you're growing up until you have no choice but to. So 7th and 8th grade, I went through puberty, and I gained 20 pounds in one summer. I didn't grow that much to gain 20 pounds. High school comes, and what happens? Most of us who are women in here have been through high school. We know the peer pressure, the self-esteem issues, so on and so forth. So that created even more problems with me, which led to the various things you see here. I just kind of piled things on top of it because you name it, I did it because I needed to get skinny, but it needed to be fast. I was not patient. So I abused laxatives. I abused weight loss medications. Have any of you ever taken Dextrim and then like pulled your hair? Does anybody know what that feeling is? It's eerie. And I did it all the time because getting skinny was what mattered, because then that meant I was a better person. I had more worth. I had my son when I was 20 years old, and I, birthed an 8-pound bowling ball, and in the process gained 75 pounds because I was pregnant, which meant I got to eat anything I wanted to, right? Yeah. Wait, I didn't lose all that weight when he came out. Yeah. So I actually stopped nursing my son at 3 months old so that I could start taking Phentermine so I could get skinny, because that was what mattered. And that's why anybody who has babies now, I'm like, do this as long as you can because it's so worth it. I did Weight Watchers off and on for 10 years. Y'all know how easy it is to cheat Weight Watchers? Yeah. We figure it out. Like, we can roll over points, right? Yeah. That was the best thing ever for them. So, May 27th, 2011, I had lap band done. And what is lap band? Look how happy I was. Lap band is what it sounds like. It is a plastic band that went around the top of my stomach that had a silicone tube in the inside of it, which when inflated with saline would get bigger, and then if they took it out, it got smaller, which meant it would restrict how much food I could physically take in. I came out of anesthesia, and the first question I asked them was, am I skinny yet? Because that's what mattered. You guys are gonna see a theme going along here. So from 2011 to 2013, I lost weight. I lost a lot of weight. However, I did not lose 100 pounds like every other person who has weight loss surgery did their first year. I was a failure. I lost 77 pounds, but I did get below 200, so that was okay. But how did I do that? Because the first year, the weight came off. The second year, not so much. So then I implemented cardio, but it wasn't just cardio, I did chronic cardio. And I would be at the gym at Gold's Cardio Cinema was like my jam, because I could sit there for 2 hours and watch a movie and be on the elliptical. That's really healthy, right? But that's what I had to do to keep losing weight, because all that mattered was I get skinny. So then in 2013, the weight really wasn't budging. So not only was I doing cardio in the morning before work, then after work I would go and start running. And I ran to the point that I fractured a bone in my foot because I needed to get skinny. So in 2013, the weight loss stopped. When I broke that bone in my foot, I couldn't run anymore. I haven't run since, and it's actually been amazing. Sorry, John. Now what? what do I do? So this right here is what I call a week before tragedy. And it was actually Monday of last week was the 9-year anniversary of my life being saved. That's the last photo. That was an award ceremony with us and our son, taken in 2015. 10 days later, I was in emergency surgery because my band, which had been stitched into my stomach, had started slipping down. I tore through the stitches and it was going down my stomach. By the time I got to the surgeon's office and he looked at the x-rays that had been taken the night before at the ER, it was halfway down my stomach. And he said, yeah, you need to walk back across the street or across the parking lot to the hospital because we're operating this afternoon. And I said, I don't have time for this. And then he said, well, you don't have a choice. And I burst into tears because the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm going to get fat again. That was all I thought. That meant more to me than potentially dying. And I even asked him, can you put it back on? He said, no. So I walked over there. I don't think my husband even got to the hospital before they had me in the operating room. They had me in there in 45 minutes. He opened me up. It took a little over an hour for that surgery. Keep in mind, putting the band in was 15 minutes. Taking it out was over an hour. And when the surgeon came out to my husband, this was the first time he had met him, he said, your wife was 24 hours from dying. I had lacerations in my stomach. I was almost completely perforated in one spot. And the next week, my son was graduating from high school. But being skinny was more important than that. So, yeah, that was interesting. And then the weight started coming back. This 2015 picture is a week and a half after surgery to take out my band. I was already 5 pounds heavier. You know why? I could eat bread. I hadn't eaten bread in 4 years. And oh boy, did I eat bread. 2016, y'all can see how big my baby is, huh? 2016, I got bigger. 2017, even bigger. 2018, woo! 2019, that was a very traumatic year for me. I lost my dad in October of 19. And food fixed everything. Food made me so much better. And then finally 2020. We all know what happened in 2020, right? So I reached out to my husband one day, late June of 2020, and I said, I'm done. I'm doing keto again. This was the 3rd time. And his response to me was, okay, you know I like meat. He's easy like that. But something had finally clicked. Like I said, I lost my dad in October of 19 at the age of 67 to Lewy body dementia. Ooh, it's a horrific disease.
Yes.
My father was a type 2 diabetic. Yeah. He had high cholesterol, so he was on statins. He had hypertension, and he was a stress addict. And he died at the age of 67 to probably the worst thing he ever could have died from because he was such an active individual. And then 2020 happened and everything shuts down and the world goes crazy. Yeah. And I was sitting there working one day and I was in so much pain. I was just, I can't do this anymore. And I watched the news that morning and I said, if I get this thing, I'm gonna die. Because I had dealt with PCOS since I was in my 20s. I was insulin resistant, pre-diabetic. I had high blood pressure. I had high cholesterol. I had metabolic syndrome. You name it, I had it. Plus, I was 286 pounds at this point. I was 275 when I had surgery. And I was done. So the first year in, you see, I went from 286 to 231. And that was with 0 exercise. It wasn't 100 pounds, guys. I was so disappointed in my weight loss number after 1 year because it wasn't fast enough. And then you'll love this, because then from June of 21 through January of 24, this past January, I fluctuated the same 5 pounds. You think 2 weeks is a stall? Mm-mm. So then in January, I started strength training. And I actually started paying more attention to how I was eating, because I would sit there and just scroll or watch TV or talk to my husband, and you still eat. Yes, you can overeat on keto. You can overeat on carnivore. It's possible.
Yep.
So, so I started strength training, and I put this picture up here because I am not afraid to show that I am not perfect. But you know what? I am a success. Because look where I started. I still have a good ways to go, but hey. And I've dropped 10 pounds from January till now, adding in strength training. That's not saying that that's going to fix everything, but apparently lifting weights does something. Okay. So the biggest change, I think, in January also was when this guy and I finally stopped enabling each other. Because we did for years. Even doing keto, even me being a health coach, we were still enabling each other. My husband went through some trauma last year as well, and I was trying to give him space. I was trying to let him deal, because I've been through that. I lost my dad. He lost his dad in April of last year from cancer. But it was finally when, okay, we're done. We're done doing this to each other because we're not helping. And it's amazing when you stop enabling each other and you get literally on the same page and on the same team, how much more strong your marriage is too. It's beautiful. So I put in here, your decisions determine your results. If you decide that you're gonna go and eat something that you probably shouldn't eat, or that will harm you in some way, okay, well then that was your decision. Own it. So the biggest thing I said was the mindset shift. Like, once that mindset of mine went from I'm this, I'm that, I'm labeled, to I had this issue, I needed to deal with it. Then progress started happening. I had so many issues related to and always coming back to food. So she did that this morning. I had to get uncomfortable, and I had to discover my why. I had to feel all those feelings that are absolutely horrible to feel. I had to cry a lot. I had to fight with my husband at times, which is always really fun. But great things do not come from your comfort zone. You have to get uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable, but it's an absolute necessity. And I have to call out this guy because, like I said, he went through some stuff. He started in 2020 with me. He went from 245 down to 220 in the fall. And then he just kind of started his thing at work. Or, we'd go out and we'd get chips and salsa, or we'd do this. And his dad got sick, and we dealt with that for 9 months, and then he grieved. And he went back up to 238 pounds. I actually did not get to update this final number because the day we left for the cruise, he weighed in at 201 pounds. And he's back there. So yeah, a lot of it, like Jessica had said this morning, is all about you. Like, you have to dig deep. You have to find that why. You have to deal with all of the reasons and the issues you've got that are just steering you towards food. Food is my comfort. Food makes me happy. She said I fell down and skinned my knee and got a cookie. Me too, sister. Yeah. I fell out of a car. My dad took me to Dairy Queen. I mean, when I got hurt, I got food. And I was very clumsy as a child. I don't think that was intentional. But that's the gist of my story right there. So thank you so much. I appreciate everybody.